The Dental Download podcast is your source for insight from conversations with fellow dentists, specialists, and leaders in the industry. With new episodes every Monday morning, I'm your host, Dr. Haley. Let's get into this week's episode. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode. We have a super awesome returning guest, Kiera Dent. Can you just reintroduce yourself for us, for people that maybe didn't listen to the first episode?
Of course, Haley. It's so good to be back. Thanks for having me. I'm Kiera Dent. Dent really is my last name. I make the joke it took 3 fiancés to get that, but hey, it's great. Here we are. I geek about dentistry. I love dentistry. I started out as a dental assistant in high school. I wanted to wear scrubs and become a nurse or become a dental assistant. Learn the whole body, learn the mouth. I'm surely taking the easiest route. So that's truly how I got into it. I'm obsessed with it. I've been a dental assistant, a treatment coordinator, a scheduler, a biller, an office manager, a regional manager. I own dental practices, and now I own the Dental A-Team Consulting. And our company is nationwide, so we consult hundreds of practices. We fly to their offices. We do virtual. We do in-person events, and we just have a ton of fun. So my job is to give people their lives back and do it with fun and ease. And we're talking a little bit of confetti, a lot of team interaction. So we work with dentists and their teams. So that way, everything's just not on the dentist's shoulders. Why make life hard? Let's make it a bit more fun. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Yeah, I know last time I had you on, we talked a lot about kind of the business side of dentistry and a lot of what you do with improving practices. But today I thought we could talk more about kind of advice for people that are going in as associates. So maybe they're not owners yet, but how can they maximize that time to kind of be prepared for ownership? So I'd love kind of your opinion. So if someone is going in as an associate for their first time at an office, what are some things that they can do, or maybe what should they be trying to learn from the owner to get themselves prepared for ownership down the line?
Haley, I'm so glad you asked this question because I did work at Midwestern University's Dental College for 3 years in Arizona. And I just want to plant a seed. And then I'll answer your question. So planting the seed is, I've talked to so many owner doctors. I know the students, and I feel like sometimes what students do, because they're in such a learning phase, right? I worked with hundreds of them. And so many of them told me, Kiera, I know you told me this before, but I really wish I would have just taken the plunge into ownership. I was so afraid to do it, but really an associateship it is beautiful, but I think it's kind of like dental school, right? You're D1, D2, D3, D4. It's almost like you guys have this path of D1, 2, 3, 4 associateship, and then I'll become ready for it, or even residency associateship. Then I'm ready for ownership. And I think it's similar. I mean, we don't have children. You can use this example. I've heard it many times of, you're never really ready when you get married. You're never really ready for children, but you jump in and you know you're going to be able to figure it out, and we learn it along the way. So I just want to plant a seed. Almost every single owner I've ever talked to asking about their associate path, they all have told me, I wish I would have just straight gone into ownership. So I'm just going to plant some seeds out there. It does not mean you need to do it, because I know it can feel scary, but maybe just percolate on that a little bit. If you do elect to, because I think most people go into associateship because you feel like, I'm not prepared. And I want to say that most dental students, I'm saying most, you know yourself, so go for it what it is. But most dental students are actually more prepared than they think they are. You don't have as much quote unquote real life experience. And so I think the part that feels daunting is, you don't really know how to run a team. You don't know how to do the billing aspect of it. You don't know how, it's the nuances of running a business. But what I want to let you know is, most associates, unless they're super proactive, just like some of those students in school, owning a business is still going to feel very daunting when you do get to that point. So just throwing those ideas out there of the pieces you don't know about ownership that you're scared about, it's going to hit you when you do buy the practice regardless. So if I was saying okay, I know I want to go into an associateship. I know I want to go in and I want to own. Basically, I'm going to take this time as my mini residency in business. That's how I would treat this as an associate but that doesn't mean because you're also trying to learn I got to get my hand skills up, and I've got to get my speed up, and I've got to figure out how to work with an assistant. I think there's that piece that is beautiful that an associateship does allow you to do. But on the flip side of that, if you're going to go be an associate, I would definitely go learn all the billing and all the front office, and go sit with the biller and say, hey, I'm Haley. I have no clue what I'm doing here. I want to learn how to submit claims, and just sit with them. They'll laugh at you. They'll giggle with you and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Teach me how to do this. And then you actually submit claims. You actually call on the insurance plan. You actually answer the phone and schedule a patient. You actually go through and you present a treatment plan with a treatment coordinator. You listen to them. Listening and observing is different than doing. And so I really would just take it as like, that's my mini residency, because the business aspect is going to be the part that's going to rock your world of managing the team, of reading the books, getting the P&L. I would talk to your owner doctor and say, hey, I'm super intrigued by business. Can you teach me? Like, I want to see how you look at your P&L. How do you talk to your bookkeeper? They might be willing to share. And if they're not, then hey, rock on, come talk to me and I'll show you how to do a P&L. But really, I think that that's the pieces that are going to maximize you. You got to learn the numbers aspect. So the KPIs, the overhead, the bookkeeping, financial, the legal aspect, like that's the whole business side. And then the flip side's the billing, the office management, how we run our meetings, what's the cadence. Those are, I think, are the two pieces in addition to getting your hand skills up that really is, I think, a great way for you to maximize your associateship if you elect to go that route. But remember, sitting in someone's house, like think of us growing up in our parents' homes. We lived in a home. We saw our parents pay the mortgage. We saw them pay the bills. So we saw it, but until you have that ownership piece on you, it is a magnitude that I don't think there's really a way to prepare you. You like, it's up to here at your neck of like, oh my gosh, I have so much debt. And so just realizing that I haven't found a great simulator to prepare you for real life, just like our parents couldn't prepare us for marriage. Like we watch our parents with marriage, we watch tons of people with it, but living it day in and day out, I think there is an element that really you just have to jump in and then gain the mental stamina and grit, I think is the best advice of how can I manage those emotions, master my emotions to ride the tidal waves of life and not get thrown off.
Yeah, that's great insight. And I'm curious in terms of if you do work with doctors right out of school that are going into ownership, are you working with many people right when they are getting started on, they just bought their practice from ground zero, or are you mostly having clients come in years into ownership and like, okay, we need to turn things around, we're struggling with this?
Yeah. So, Haley, I'm glad you asked. And you actually inspired me on our last podcast of I realized our consulting company didn't really have something that I felt was affordable for new grads. And I felt like that was just a zone. And we know my model is I just want to serve and help as many dentists as we possibly can to like love life and enjoy the aspect. So we actually just created a part of our consulting that is way more budget friendly, but gives the foundation of the practice. It's more of a kind of like there is some DIY, but also you get massive access to the consultants. It is more in a group setting, mastermind style. So you're learning from other doctors. You can ask your questions. We almost walk you through, not almost, we do. We walk you through like the 12 systems of how to set up your practice based on the months of the year to like get you in this good place. But it's way, way, way more budget friendly because I can do it on more of a mass scale. And then when you're ready, you can add on calls and whatnot, because I just noticed that was a gap. And I feel like it's a gap in a lot of consulting because it's like kind of like financial advisors. And me and Ryan Isaac, like we talk about this all the time. Like dentists, when you get out of school, you need a financial advisor to make these decisions. But financial advisors usually don't take you until you're making over $1 million. Well, same thing with consultants. Like we don't want to deal with it. You don't have the money. That just seems ludicrous to me because then, like you said, you're in hot water and now we're trying to bail you out of it. So I'm actually really excited. We have quite a few new, like brand new doctors in there. We've got some existing doctors too, because I didn't want to just like only have newbie docs. Like we do have some advanced doctors. So, and it's just been really, really fun to see it evolve. But the doctors are loving it because it's doctor and team. We'll talk about it more at the end, but truly any person who comes from this podcast, just mention it. You guys are getting 25% off your monthly fee for life because I want students to feel confident owning practices. I want you to feel like you've got resources of a consultant on demand, basically, because you're going to have a ton of questions. Like I know what you're going to go through. And I saw that was a gap. So mass kudos to you of just planting the seed. And then our team went to work and we built a product that is beyond beautiful. And you get 9 hours of consultant access per week or per month, excuse me, which right now most clients are only getting an hour and a half of time from a consultant. So we try to just like maximize it. Yes, it's in a group setting, but I believe that there's a massive advancement. Think about in class, like students raise their hand and they ask questions like that you never would have thought of, but you at least get the answer to it, similar to our consulting, and you still can have access to answer all your questions. So, I just thought that was a gap. So we decided to roll that out. And so 100%. And then there's also a lot of clients that when you're going to buy a practice, I think this is really important to note. You usually see the cost of the practice. And so you go to the bank to get that. And I recommended for years, ask for a little, like I'm talking 50 to 100K more of working capital if you can. And that's what you invest in CE and consulting and equipment, because that's going to propel your business forward. It's not the actual line item of my practices this much. Tack it on and say, I'm hiring a consultant, or convince the practice you're buying to hire a consultant so it goes into the roll-up fee. Those are the things to do so that way you have the funds available when you really need the help the most.
That's awesome that you created that program. That's exactly, like, there was definitely a need for it. So I'm excited to know that that's available now for people. Just like Kiera and her team, ADEC is all about helping dental practices reach their full potential. Expertise from those who know the ins and outs of the industry is invaluable. And that even goes for making confident design decisions. That's where ADEC Design Days comes in. Whether in person or virtual, professional designer and dental resource consultant Lori Saleba guides clients through the many choices from space planning, acoustics and proper lighting, to flooring, paint, furniture, sightlines, and of course, upholstery color. The complimentary 1-hour session helps you navigate the process for designing and building your dental practice, ensuring that it reflects your vision and budget. You'll leave with a design kit you can use for your operatory, selections and samples that reflect your inspirations, and confidence that your choices create a cohesive, inspired environment. Ready to get inspired? See the show notes to contact the ADEC Territory Manager for details today.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, again, an associate perspective, and I mean, it can just be anything you're seeing with your clients for if they need to increase production, if that's one of their problems, that maybe they're not producing enough. Do you feel like the time needs to be put towards clinical skills, actual CE, or is a lot of time it more communication skills that people need to really increase that production?
I think that there's, gosh, like it's like tenfold. I think there's a lot of things that can go into it. And so I'll just kind of like hit the high points. Number one, I think given a lengthy amount of time, students and new doctors tend to take that amount of time. So my biggest piece is timing yourself. There's these cool little blocks on Amazon, and you can get your assistant to do it where you can like wipe it and it can be clean. But you can actually flip the timer once you walk into the operatory and see how long it's taking you to actually prep the crown. In addition to going and getting the exams done, see how long your exams are taking you and just start timing yourself. It's kind of like when we train for like marathons or you're training for your race times. And if we're not tracking our metrics, you're actually not able to improve that. So I found like one of the biggest pieces of increasing production is just being able to shave off 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. That's going to radically help you. If you can shave 5 or 10 minutes for every procedure in a day, you're actually opening up space to add in 1 or 2 more procedures, and you're getting that dollar per hour production up. That's also going to track you in on your dollar per hour for production. And so not on the, don't get wild on me. Let's not go for our gross. Let's go for our true like office fees of like what the insurance will pay you. So go off that number. But when you actually start tracking what your dollar per hour is, most associate doctors come out and they're producing about $500 per hour. So like trying to get us into that $4,000 a day. But if you can get that up to even $600 an hour or up to $700 an hour, and you productively schedule your day, that radically will increase that production. And so, and then also having confidence in yourself and pushing yourself, like you're going to get into a bind. And that's where I think communication skills come into play. If you know I can push myself on my procedures and I can get my hand skills faster, I just need to have the word ninja skills to communicate to a patient in case something goes awry. Guys, it's dentistry. You are a real life artist working in someone's mouth. Own that and be okay with it. And be like, you know what? Things just didn't quite go as planned. Push the next patient down. You learned, but don't get scared of that because you're learning. It's like a child who falls off a bike. They need to get back on that bike and keep riding. Same thing with you. So I really feel like tracking your production per hour, timing yourself and making sure it's there, and then figuring out like what takes you a long time. Is it the crown prep? Is it because you're not using your assistants? And so many associates right out of school don't use their assistants. Like, I am an assistant. Let me help you. Let me hand you the instruments, because it's crazy. We think like, I'll just grab it. It's faster. No, if you can keep your hands right in the mouth and you've got a really good assistant that constantly is sending it to you and they're right there, your production's going to go up exponentially. And then also have your assistant, like, I recommend associates going into a practice and find the most seasoned assistant and ask them like, hey, when do I need to go to an exam? Like, almost have them guide you of when you need to be leaving the room, because that assistant knows your most optimal time. Like, get out of here. I'm going to take an x-ray and then get back in here in 5 minutes and we're going to keep rocking and rolling. So I oftentimes my opinion is when associates go work for practices to give that associate the most seasoned assistant. I know the doctor never wants to give their perfect assistant up, but that assistant's going to force an associate to move faster, show you how to really get the rope. So I think there's like multifaceted. Usually it's not CE right out of school. You might be struggling with like sensitivity. On that, just get your owner doctor to come in and assist you, or you go assist your owner doctor and figure out like how do they actually put the bands in, how do they cure, when are they doing these things, and pay attention to almost their efficiency flow. And I think if associates will also do that, like I know it sounds weird to go assist them, but you're watching to see how quickly they move and when do they go do the exams. And I think you working with your owner doctor a little bit more can really increase that production up for you. So tracking your numbers, figuring out how much time it really does take you, shaving it off 1 or 2 minutes every time to just get it a little bit more efficient, seeing that owner doctor, and then getting those beautiful communication skills with your patient of like, it was a day today, and this is just real life dentistry and real life. And thank you for waiting. Never apologize. I think a good phrase is like, thank you so much for waiting. I really appreciate it. And let's get rocking and rolling. Don't be like, I'm so sorry. Because you put yourself in a wrong phase. Thank you so much for waiting. Let's get rocking and rolling. I always give my best patient care to every patient, and then figure out where you went awry that day and make it better the next day is what I'd recommend.
I love all those tips. And when it comes to communication skills in terms of like case acceptance, I know a lot of offices now have treatment coordinators anyways, so the doctors aren't so much like selling treatment anymore in a lot of cases. But at the end of the day, like the patients want to ask the doctor questions. So what are some things that you recommend people kind of hone in on when it comes to discussing treatment with patients?
Sure. This will be my like favorite thing that I'll ever give everyone. Doctors, like, remember you are selling treatment and they're buying your confidence. So many docs like push off like, oh, it's a TC. And the TCs are like, no, you T for me. Like, you got to get this teed up for me, and you're confident and you've helped this patient realize like this is what they need. So a lot of doctors feel bad because they don't want to give bad news. And I'm like, you're not giving bad news. You're just educating of what the state of the mouth is in. That patient, they made choices. They chose to drink the diet sodas. They chose to like sip on this. Like, those are choices they made. Educate them, and then always end it with like, and the great news is we're going to be able to get you healthy. I'm here for you. And then this is what I say of your best case acceptance tip. And I call it NDTR is my perfect handoff. And it's, I think what I love, and associates love this, is it kind of gives you a framework of how do I do my exam. So I recommend comprehensive exam, walk them through it, tell them everything that's going on, and then you do NDTR. You can remember new dentist, tough road, neuter, Nevada dentist, totally rock. Like, I've heard all the things. Never date the rookie. Like, however you want to remember this, I don't care. But someone says neuter, and that just makes me giggle. But it's next visit, the date to return, how much time is needed, and make sure their recare is scheduled. So at the end of it, and I call it like putting a bow on your treatment plan package. And so it's like, all right, Haley, I want to get you back. Like, the great news is we're going to be able to get you healthy, and I'm excited to get your mouth healthy and clean again. So I want to see you back in about 2 weeks. We're going to get started on the upper right. We're going to take care of that crown and that root canal for you. It's going to take me about 2 hours for that. And I want to make sure you've got your cleaning scheduled. What questions do you have for me? I want to make sure you're super confident. I didn't ask, do you have questions? I told them what needs to happen. They're super clear, because oftentimes patients feel like, well, where are we starting? And a lot of new grads especially really get funky on their exam. Because like in school, someone else does it. They bring them back. Like, they have to come back. They're here for like 500 hours because you guys have to get all the checks on it. And so in private practice, they have to know where you're starting. You have to know where you're starting, and you'll get faster at that. So worst case scenario is you just start in the upper right always. Like, okay, I go upper right. Like, that's always my go-to until I get better at like where my chief concern is. But I want to see you back in about 2 weeks. Or if you know your schedule is wide open, I want to see you back in about a week. It's going to take me 2 hours for this. Please don't underestimate or overestimate. Like, let's try and get that dialed in. This is where you also time yourself so you're more confident on giving that timing. But if you will do that pretty bow, and your team takes that up and they use that perfect bow, your treatment coordinator now can say, all right, Haley, let's get you scheduled. You're going to come back with Dr. Schultz. She's incredible. She wants you back in 1 week. So I'm going to schedule you on Wednesday at this time. She needs 2 hours for the crown, the root canal, and then they'll go over the finances. Doctors, you are convincing this patient they're buying your confidence. That's what they're buying. They're not buying the crown. They're not buying the root canal. And I do think you having that confidence, I'm not like, no, you kind of had this. And I'll say a lot of females tend to be a little more passive on their diagnosing. And I just want to give the female doctors of like, girls, like we can do this and you are totally capable, and like, don't feel bad about it. Cause I think we have these empathetic hearts. Go in and diagnose confidently, because they're buying your confidence is what they're buying. And looking at you, are you the person who can truly make my mouth healthy again? That's what I'm buying. And I'm looking at you of like, are you sure? And the more confident you doctors are, men have it too, don't worry. Like, but I just watch it. And Haley, you're a female, so I think I'm talking more to you than anyone else. Like, truly, I hope that all doctors have the confidence in themselves. Another question is like, hey, how long have you been practicing dentistry? 4 years. You guys have been practicing for 4 years. Don't tell them you're brand new out of school. Like, they don't need to know that. Move along. It's fine. In a year, you're going to look back at your treatment and be like, wow, that was terrible. It was the best you did at that time. And you're always going to judge yourself as you move on. And that's how you make yourself better. So like, don't feel bad about it. You can always fix it, and you move on and you just make it better and better and better every single day.
That was good advice as well. And before we wrap up, I know you've already given us like so many great pearls, but I like to give people a chance for just like any closing thoughts in terms of advice for dentists that are just getting started.
One, you have way more skills than you think you do. And I think like having that confidence within you, you went to a great school and you're going to make mistakes. And I remember, so I started with a dentist. She was straight out of school, and we started our first practice, and we took our practice from 500,000 to 2.4 million in 9 months as a brand new grad. So I like to paint that story. Not that you need to do that, but I love to hear what's possible, because then you can expand what's possible for you. And I remember there was one night we were sitting there and she bombed a root canal. Like, I'm telling you, it was a bomb. Like, we broke off a file. Like, it was awful. And I remember we were sitting there at the end of the day and I said, you're better than this. And I remember I was like, wow, Kiera, you're like cutthroat when she's down. But I think it was one of the best things I ever said, because she is better than that. And she knew she's better than that. And so because like she made that one mistake, she could have let that haunt her, or she can make it like make her better. And so you will make mistakes, and that's part of being a dentist. But it's how quickly can you recover from that mistake and make it better, and realizing nothing is permanent in dentistry. Like, everything can be fixed. Everything can be resolved. Like, most of the time we're probably not going to kill a patient. So our risk isn't super high. And I just really want to give you that vote of confidence that you are well trained. You are going to learn. You are going to make mistakes, and that's part of the journey. But the faster you can learn from that mistake and do better and be better, the better you're going to be for those patients. And to me, I feel like as a dentist, this isn't about you. It's about you being the best for your patients and giving them the best clinical care. And when you remove yourself from it and your ego and realize, I got to be the best for this patient, it gives you that motivation to rise up, to do the best treatment plan, to give them the confidence of when they need to come back, to realize like, if they don't come to me and I know I'm a good dentist, they're going to go to someone else who might not be as good of a dentist. And I owe it to my patients to be giving them the best dentistry possible. We only have our 32, which most of us only have 28 teeth. We get one set. And you as a dentist, I want you to take that on and realize you are the best for those patients. Rise up to the level you're capable of and believe in yourself more than you give yourself credit. Because gosh, I've seen a lot of rough dentistry, and most students coming out of school are not that way. You've been trained, grow, evolve, and realize you've got so much potential in you. Don't give up. Even when you have that bad case, do better, be better, and come in tomorrow and be better.
And if people want to work with Dental A Team or want to learn more about what you're doing for like the recent grads, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, for sure. So head on over to our podcast. Haley, I love your guys' podcast. We have a podcast as well. Tons of tips. We've got tons of resources. You guys can subscribe to our newsletter. We send out lots of amazing tips for practice ownership and teams. But if you want to work with us, thedentalyteam.com, there's a free consult. You can click there. You can email us hello@thedentalyteam.com. Mention Dental Download Podcast, and we will give you guys, like I said, 25% off for life. Like, it will be grandfathered and we'll never change that for you, which I do not offer unless you're coming from a podcast. 25% off monthly for life if you mention this. So come on over. We'd love to help you guys out. It's our way to give back and to give you the confidence to be successful owners. And even if you're an associate, there's a ton of great things for you. We tried to make it doable, and it is CE. So every month you are getting CE for it as well to really become these awesome owners.
That is very cool. Thank you so much. And thank you again for your time today.
Of course. Thank you.